Chapter 2. A Reborn Female Student. Translator. Henny Translations Editor. Henny Translations. The news was saying a female body had been found in the Sea of City B last afternoon. The dead was around 25 years old. According to the investigation, the dead was exactly the industrial espionage and killer that the police was chasing after today. While watching the news, the teenage girl still seemed serious. Nobody knew the teenage girl's soul had already been coincidentally replaced by the soul of the female body on the news. Yes, Tang Aining had been reborn. Was that unbelievable? But it was what it was. Even Tang Aining, who was proud of her excellent adaptability, had spent a whole morning to accept and face the reality. But since God had let her be reborn, undoubtedly, she would fulfill her oath of the last lifetime. If she could be alive, she would definitely pay Kai Ziyu and Tang Yaxin back. So, Kai Ziyu and Tang Yaxin, let's wait and see. Tang Aining was back. She was back for the Tang family who had killed her mother and used her for so many years. The body Tang Aining was reborn to named Gu Ning, 18 years old. She was born in a normal one-parent family, and her mother gave birth out of wedlock. Because of that, the mother and the daughter had been humiliated and disdained by their relatives for a long time. As for Gu Ning, she was always called the bastard. Besides, the schoolmates despised, isolated and bullied her as well, which was the reason why Gu Ning was self-abased, introverted, weak and inarticulate. Gu Ning's mother, Gu Man, was a common factory worker due to her lack of a college degree, earning around several thousand yuan per month. They lived a very hard life. Gu Ning was a senior studying in a high school of City F. It was just a semester away from the national college entrance examination. However, Gu Ning was not academically inclined, so it was difficult for her to be accepted into college, and their relatives had laughed at them about that. Someone even pretended to persuade Gu Ning to marry a random man after the exam for Gu Man's good. But upon thinking of the reason why Gu Ning was in hospital, Tang Aining turned displeased with her eyes showed slight anger. Probably because they had encountered the same problem. Gu Ning had had a boyfriend before she was in hospital. They had dated for 2 months. Her boyfriend named Qin Zheng, a student in the top class. Qin Zheng was a handsome, outgoing boy, and also good at studying. He was born in a rich family. His father was the head of the tourism bureau, while his mother was a director of obstetrics and gynecology department in the hospital. Qin Zheng was a son of the authorities. It had been beyond Gu Ning's imagination that such an outstanding boy would have chased her. Most importantly, Gu Ning had secretly fallen in love with Qin Zheng for a year. Although Gu Ning had known they didn't match, she had been unwilling to reject. A few days later, she had accepted. But everything had come to an end right away yesterday. Yesterday had been a Friday. Qin Zheng had asked Gu Ning out for a meeting. Gu Ning had believed it must be a date. But to her surprise, Qin Zheng had appeared with Gu Xiao, and he had said he wanted to break up the minute they had met. Gu Xiao, the daughter of Gu Ning's uncle, was half a year Gu Ning's senior. While growing up, Gu Xiao had been instilled by her parents that Gu Ning was a bastard. Moreover, Gu Ning was more than beautiful than her. Thus bullying Gu Ning was always funny to Gu Xiao. Gu Ning, Qin Zheng never liked you. He was with you only because it was a bet between us. I told him if he could have you to be his girlfriend for 2 months, then dump you, I'll be his girlfriend afterwards. So, from now on, Qin Zheng is my boyfriend, Gu Xiao had said in an arrogant way to Gu Ning. It had taken quite a while for Gu Ning to recover from the shock. She asked Qin Zheng, "Is it true?" Qin Zheng, who had been looking at her with disdain, replied with intense dislike, "Absolutely." Gu Ning, do you really think I would like you? Such a poor girl who has nothing. If it hadn't been for Xiao, I would not have bothered to give you a glance. You're disgusting. For now, Gu Ning could barely stand. She had believed she had met her Prince Charming, but it had turned out to be an absurd joke. Gu Ning couldn't accept it. She had run away in shame, but had been caught by a car accident. Her brain had been badly damaged while bleeding endlessly, while the driver had escaped. When she was awake, she became Tang Aining. Right at this moment, 2 soft female voices sounded outside the door, and stopped Tang Aining from thinking. Here's 30,000. That's all the savings of me and your brother-in-law. But I don't think it's enough for Ning Ning's surgery. This was Gu Ning's second aunt, Gu King. She sounded worried. After a few seconds, she continued, "Well, why don't you call our eldest brother?" Gu King said though. She didn't believe it herself. "I already called. But our eldest brother said his money is all in his wife's hands. He's broke too. You know our eldest sister-in-law. Money is her life. One has to kill her first, then borrow her money." Gu Man felt resigned. Gu King, her eldest brother, was the richest one among the family, but also was the stingiest one. It was merely an excuse that his money was all in his wife's hands, and Gu Man knew it well. "Right, how about our third brother? He said he just bought a new house and ran out of money. It's all my fault to let Ningning suffer with me. If Ningning couldn't recover, I'll commit suicide afterwards." Gu Man was in pain and desperation. Although Tang Aining wasn't the old Tang Aining any longer, she still had her professional skills with her. Thus she was able to hear the voices from outside clearly no matter how quiet they were. And the dialogue touched her. When she woke up this morning, she was busy absorbing the fact that she had been reborn, and she forgot to let Gu Man know she had already regained consciousness. Tang Aining felt guilty about that. Accompanied by a quick sound, the room door was pushed open. Two middle-aged women of the same age walked in. They were all in common, cheap clothes. Although their clothing was old and worn out, it was clean and tidy. Because they didn't earn much money, they barely took good care of their skin, and they looked much older than their real age. No one would doubt if they said they were 50 years old. "Mom, Aunt." Tang Aining opened her mouth first. She didn't feel uncomfortable, because she had totally accepted the fact that she had been reborn. Firstly, she maintained Gu Ning's memories, which reminded her of the deep mother's love. Secondly, she herself held great desire for a mother. Those were the reasons why Tang Aining swiftly accepted Gu Man as her mother. Gu Man made her think of her own mother. Those two both had been abandoned by a man. But Gu Man was luckier than Tang Aining's mother. Though living a hard life, Gu Man was alive at least.